Good evening, everyone. We're calling on tonight's meeting of the Boardwalk Community Oversight Committee to order. First order of business for phase 2 is to adopt the agenda. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda, Heather?
Addition to the agenda, or information item regarding committee increase. To admit.
We want to make that like 1.2, I guess.
Yes.
Committee inquiries.
Yeah.
I need a motion from one of the members to amend the agenda to include 4.2 committee. Sorry,
Inquiries. I'll move to. Thank you, Alex. Oh snap! We don't have an agenda. Oh, we don't have.
Yeah. We have no problem. It's like is there somebody who would be willing to take minutes?
I'm so I could take it, but I'll be slow.
No problem. If you need time or something reviewed, just shout out. That's fine.
So January 11th. So the first is a motion to add committee inquiries to administration to the agenda. To agenda, and that's
it's item 4.2.
4.2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, are there any comments or questions about the addition to the agenda?
Hi, Gavin.
Sorry.
You're here. Yeah, that's a great addition to the agenda.
Okay, any other comments or questions before we call the question? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of adding 4.2 committee inquiries, please indicate. Okay. Any opposed?
Tom is a shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Tom. Hey, Tom.
Okay.
Okay, so 4.2 committee increase. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
This might come up in that committee inquiries because I've been getting different sort of responses to the open house. Like they're asking what's the purpose, and I've been getting sort of like in our last meeting, they said that it would be a town hall meeting and it would be used as partly for public input to support the application to Alberta Environment for the ramps and the boardwalk project. But recently I've been told by town employees that
Very best.
yeah.
Like, did you want to add
Yeah.
something to the agenda? Okay, what do you want to add?
I want to add just an update on open house, upcoming open house for discussion.
Okay. I don't have discussion items, but we could add it. We could have a discussion item after information items before roundtable, probably would be okay. Okay, so you're moving to have that. I'm gonna call that. Now let's just call it 4.3. Open house update.
Yeah.
Okay, any comments or questions about the addition? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, well, that's carried. Right, any other additions or deletions, changes? Okay, seeing none, we need a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Beyond, all those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. That brings us to adoption of meeting minutes. You'll see meeting minutes for December 14th circulated with the agenda. Are there any comments or questions about them? Okay, we need a motion to adopt those then.
I'll move to adopt the minutes.
Thank you, Alice. There's no comments or questions. All those in favor? Okay, that's also carried unanimously. First action item, approve recommended changes to terms of reference. Did you want to talk us into that?
Yes, I will take a minute to just share my screen so that those at home can see. And poor Bill doesn't have to try and pull it up on his phone.
Can't get it up. Came up the other day, but then I wouldn't try again. Chill out.
Not sure why. Terms of right here. Don't stare at the screen right now, you'll get sick. There you go. Okay, so in the email that I circulated with this item in it, there's different fonts, weird numbers, different colors, things like that. That's for my purposes as well as the like editing team. So we'll just ignore all of that. That'll all get done in the formatting process when they add this to the file. So leftovers, well, first of all, this is the vision that you guys landed on. Good work on that, reads well. So I've added that in, and I did make one small adjustment to 1.1 just to make 1.2 make any sense. I added as outlined in 1.2 below so that we know what we're talking about when we make reference to the vision. So I do want to talk about the scope. So as I understand, you guys pulled this definition out from definition of Boardwalk and brought it up here. However, you'll recall that we had the map in the old terms of reference, and I'm scrolling there now. This one's a better version. I practiced. So this is the current outline of what you guys manage in terms of space. Can you not see that?
No, I'm confused by your 1.2 thing.
Do you want me to go back? Sure.
It says as outlined in section 1.2 below, but it's within 1.2.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just take out below as outlined in section 1.2.
Oh, mine's numbered the way Jan's is. Like I have number.
What?
I guess if it's in the article that it's in, why do you have to reference it?
Because when you go down, like, so we're in purpose, right? So what is the purpose? The purpose
okay, you got different numbering than me. I've got the purpose is 1.1 on this, and this is 1.2.
Yeah,
this is what you emailed out.
Yeah, this is what I just downloaded from your email. Yeah.
I just opened it. Whatever that is.
So
I thought
you see her.
because even this one here and 2.1, yeah, so it's just a numbering issue. I'll call it out by the titles. Okay, yeah, some of them stayed and some of them changed. I didn't realize that. Sorry, guys. So yeah, so here we're making reference to section 1.2 because there was no lead in to describe and identify that this is the vision that the group must maintain. So as far as
should we just put the word vision in front of?
So I did have it here like this.
Yeah.
But that's not typically how you would do that. That would then find its way into definitions.
Gotcha.
So, other questions on that one? Okay. So with respect to the scope, so when the original BBO met, we had identified on the map kind of everything in that area would be managed, which is why we ran into the issue of that section of the boardwalk that we wanted to get fixed this year, which I have Muni site up so I can show you guys. If you do want to talk about expanding this area, we need to, I'll pull that up and you guys can discuss it. Is that, if that is something we want to do, we'll need a motion. Otherwise, it's a yes or no to the current map. And just map first, then we'll get into wording about boardwalk and trails.
You're talking about just once you see that.
Sorry, Bill. Jan, and then Beth, and then Bill.
I thought we already voted on this. So we already decided that it was the red law.
Do you recall what meeting that would have been at?
Sorry.
So Jan, this is now bringing it back to be able to discuss that boardwalk section. Remember a while ago, you guys were like, why isn't that part? Yeah. So
I remember, I thought we had, but if you haven't, that's fine. Just sure, carry on. We can vote on it again.
Yes.
I'm interested in the procedure if we do want to change this.
sure. Just give me 1 second. Whoops. So this here on the screen is our MuniSite tool that we use to do our mapping. So if I drag this over here, so the red that we see here is the current scope or outline. And then that section of trail that you guys had us address was over here on Rob Road. So what I thought, if there is an appetite to redraw this line, then I wanted to take some points today, have you guys kind of go up there, point where you want it, and get it redrawn as a recommendation, right? Council will still decide ultimately what the scope is, but it would be highlighted to council that this is a change with a new line around. Let me know if you need me to zoom in around so you guys can.
In the and the blue on the map is townland.
So this blue here, all this blue is the wetland delineation. The like lighter blue is Maxwell Lake itself. And then all the green variation, like almost of this is Crown.
Are you good? Yes.
I'm fine. I'm just more interested, maybe even not for now, but if we did want to change this boundary at some point, like what the procedure would be, would it be changing our terms of reference?
Correct, because it isn't attachment yet.
Right.
Okay.
Bill, and then Alice.
I just want to know that area there, that's the important part right there, the round where the circle in red. That's the important part. So why don't we just focus on that for now? And another time, take care of the rest of it. But the part is everything that's sunk should be raised. That's the part that's really important. Or like I said, that's my vision. Is what I see is the boardwalk is getting everything that's you can access right now. And every time I see somebody like what's going on here, what's going on here, this blockage here, this blockage there. Get it lifted up, get it fixed, get it, stay focused instead of trying to add on extra stuff that doesn't need to be added on to yet. That's another year, another year, another 5 years away, whatever it takes. But to get what's in the scope of the main part of the boardwalk off of whatever Sutherland and all around that College Road there over to wherever that point is, where those big outlooks are. That's the important part.
Okay. Still, Alice?
I think Jan was right. I think we did vote to accept this map as outlined. I mean, so unless someone wants to actually change it, I don't even know if we can make a motion.
Works for me.
Yeah, that would be correct. Yeah, unless if we want to change it, we can. All it would take is a motion from somebody to change it to something else, then we would vote on it. Okay, are there any more comments, questions? Anybody want to make a motion? Okay, seeing nothing, I guess then everybody's happy with the current outline. Okay.
Oh, sorry. So then further to that, with respect to what you want to manage in this area. So the brown trails are town trails. So right now we don't have a whole lot of description. We have natural and built areas. If you guys are cool with keeping that and you think that that's a good catch-all for everything that's in this red area, then we can keep that language. I just wanted to make sure that it was good with the group. Natural and built, everything that's in here. Whoa, whoa,
That's.
outside, of course, of a bridge at this time. Oh, God. Click on it. But yeah, so if you're okay with the natural and built environments, so natural is land, like we talked about, the little dog outposts, right? Built could be benches, like we've discussed. If you guys are cool with that catch-all and we don't need to revisit it, then I will go ahead and count this as good to go.
Okay, any thoughts, comments, or questions about that?
I like the benches. The benches are nice to sit down. The one that got wrecked was a shame. But it's easily replaced by somebody whoever does those are nice. Get more of them up there so people would sit. I saw a family last year sitting there, birthday party, they sit over by the signs where all the animals stored. They were sitting there having a picnic with McDonald's. Yeah, it was nice to see.
Nice. In terms of the wording for the terms of reference, is there any comments or questions, thoughts? Okay, saying none. Oh, sorry, go ahead now.
Just so I got this clear here. It's a little bit hard to read with all this weird breaks and the. So what you're saying is everything, every little trail within this red block, we're gonna have some sort of say over it.
So that,
Like, are we disregarding the Himba trails that are part of
no,
this?
so if you look at the map, the terms of reference, and if you go, there's a legend, right? So the Himba trails are excluded. And so that's listed in the legend above.
Yeah, but it also says hiking trails as well. So, for example, like what makes a hiking trail? This right here, is that a hiking trail?
So if it's brown on the map, it's a town trail, and we cover it. I think Hans used the term hiking trail as what Post Parks, Open Spaces and Trails at Master Plan actually calls a natural trail, which is the ones that just somebody walks through the bush and creates like a goat path. The town doesn't maintain those. Of course, if there's like a tree come down or something like that, we'll address it. But so just the brown trails. We just couldn't cut out the Himba trails. So that's why Hans addressed them on the legend there during the previous iteration of the terms of reference.
Sure.
Does that answer it?
Yeah, I mean, the legend is hard to read.
Oh, I'm redoing the legend. You'll see my notes in there, right? Yeah. I just wanted to get the map sorted before I spent any time on the legend.
I have a question if we can while we're talking about the legend. I can't see the notes because I have a PDF version of your Word file, so there is no notes.
Okay.
But the part Jan's talking about, there's some oddly placed periods in there.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what makes it hard to read, right? Because it says mountain bike hiking trails maintained by HMRA and FRMA. So it should be HMBA, Mountain Bike Association. Okay.
And I think that it has that weird spacing because the original version that I had to be broken out of a PDF into Word so that we could work with it. But that'll get cleaned up.
And then the other question I had about the legend, the very first bullet point says faded area within yellow outline, BVOC oversight area. On the map, it's red.
It used to be yellow. So I took out the old one, put in this one, and then you don't have the notes, but my notes there have it highlighted saying I'm going to edit the legend after they.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, are there anything else in the other?
Just on the legend as well. So we've got the multi-use boardwalk trails, which are the brown, solid brown. And then there's the inside, the red boundary are sort of greenish, brownish, a different light brown dash trails. Are those the Himba?
Those are, the Himba and the Firma ones. And you can see in here, there's little like green dashes. but again, they don't match fully, so I can see where that's confusing. I'll get that sorted.
Yeah, so that might be useful to put in the legend, so you don't have to guess, like I'm saying, well, that's probably what they are. But, or
I think they are, but you just can't tell by the
you just
way.
can't tell.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, so it should be, all right.
Heather's got it. She just needs to get the legend.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Okay.
Back to you.
Switching screens, give me 1 second. Nope. Okay. Right, so the next thing we had,
Can you show the wording again? Sorry.
Oh, for here. So your scope will read natural and built environment within the Maxwell area as outlined within the red line of Appendix C.
Okay. Thank you.
No problemo. Okay, so the last, second last thing. So this is a outstanding motion. You guys had asked for me to put in the wording from the procedure bylaw. I think I wrote it down. Committee bylaw regarding memberships, and we just wanted to keep it consistent with what other committee, what the committee bylaw says, and to put it explicitly in here. So that's these highlighted portions here. And again, they're from the committee bylaw, so really we don't have the ability to change it a whole lot, or really at all. So I just wanted to let you guys know I did put them in directly in there. If we take them out, the rules are still the same because we are beholden to the committee's bylaw. It's just here, it's more easier for you guys to see.
Okay, any thoughts on that, committee? Is that something we do want to make to have as part of the terms of reference, or is it not necessary?
I think it's necessary. Things are made up as we go along because nobody wants to play. Because you got to not really sure how to say this. It's not a follower, and this is not what I do. This is not something. This is thrown in there because you don't agree with what I have to say. This boardwalk. That's personally. It's not.
That's not true.
Yeah.
That is part of the committee's bylaw. That's part of what committee members on town appointed committees have to adhere to.
Couple of that yesterday.
No, sorry, I think there's some confusion. Sorry, point of order.
Yeah.
When we say committee bylaw, not this committee, the council's committee bylaw, right? That's the changes that are here, and that's set by council. So we can either put it in so that it's easier for you guys to find that information, or take it out, but the rules are still there.
Take it out.
Beth?
I think it's a useful addition that saves you giving it out in another bylaw. You know, otherwise it would just say as, you know, bylaw number, and you'd have to go find it. You know, I think it's useful.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah. I find, I think, I'm sorry. I think the 3.6 is going to be interesting. Someone keeping track of that. I think we probably had some people already do that already. So just no, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, it's already happened. It's
I'm putting my hand up.
Yeah, so if I may again, these aren't particular to our terms of reference. They're just drawn out of the committee's bylaw. That is the guidelines for all of the council committees. Like every committee of council has the same ones, and that forms part of it. I actually think that's a little bit weird, and it's a little too prescriptive as far as I'm concerned, but that unfortunately isn't up to this group to change. But I think next time there is a review of the council committee's bylaw, that is one of the things that I'm going to bring up, because that's, I don't know, I honestly don't think that that's a fairly reasonable rule to have all of your committee members have to be here.
Like I said, we're volunteers, we don't have the same rules and regulations as council members. We're volunteering our free time to be here. There's no reason for us to be bound by any rules of council. We're here for the boardwalk, not for personal benefit again.
I appreciate that. We can have a conversation about that if you'd like, but that is a condition of being on a council committee.
And actually, it's not as a volunteer. No, it's not for me.
As I said, Bill, we can have a conversation about it later, but it is. And if you don't want to adhere to it, then that's a condition of being a committee member. I'm sorry.
Volunteer.
It doesn't matter.
Volunteer. It's going to be.
Alice?
If council decides to review, say 3.6. And then it still says this in our terms of reference, should we maybe exclude it and point, like, is that a reason to not include it here?
Well, I'd speak to that. That's actually the challenge that I have with having anything that's excerpted from a different bylaw or a different policy forming part of a different bylaw, policy, or terms of reference. If one of them changes, then all of a sudden they don't match anymore. And it's very hard for administration to keep track of all those references where something references something else and to make sure that they match all the time.
I mean, in an ideal world, whenever like the council committee bylaw is edited or amended, admin would sit and check all of them to see what else needs to change, but that's an exercise in almost futility with the amount of committees and different documents and stuff that we have. So to Albert's point, it's just one more step, but right now this is for you guys, so if this makes it easier for you, that's all I wanted to present.
Yes.
I mean, you could replace it with one sort of one statement saying our committee members are bound by the council committee bylaw numbers, whatever they are in the council committee bylaw. So if they change, then that automatically change. But if we have somewhere we can look it up, so we don't have to.
Correct.
Yeah, so like a reference, a lookup reference.
Is that one or do
You can.
yeah, so at the top of this, so something you guys don't have really the ability to govern because it's a bylaw. It has a list of the procedure bylaw, the committee's bylaw, and the council code of conduct as the related documents to this. So that'll be mentioned in the bylaw. However, we had so many times where we were going back and forth that I thought putting it in might be helpful. So we do it by the number. And what I can do is I'll turn them into links so that we can then access it more easily, if that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, not to beleaguer 3.6, but two things I was just going to throw out for just one that I think maybe a little bit to Bill's point, more volunteer friendly would be that from my experience, every nonprofit board that I ever sat on was 3 or more. I know I'm talking semantics, but whatever, a little bit more friendly. And the other was just, if I theoretically had a long, busy summer and I missed both meetings in the summer, that's not really fair probably to the person who might have been subject to that, but that's in the week now. So that's it. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Is there a section? I thought it was in the terms of reference actually for the associated policies and bylaws. So to Beth's point, referring to the committee's bylaw, I thought there was a reference to the other ones as well.
And it's in the actual bylaw, I think. I'll pull that up slowly. Just give me a second. Because it's not in.
It's in the body of the bylaw, not in the terms of
Correct.
reference.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's in the policies that they're right there in the other one section, but bylaws is up.
Alice?
This is just an idea for you, for council, if you do come to review this, but it may be some worth having it just as more of like a friendly suggestion, like if a member finds themselves missing more than 3 consecutive meetings or more than 50% of all meetings, that they consider moving on and letting someone else in, like, you know, just kind of making it less punitive and more friendly.
Yeah, we had it on the other board I'm on. They said the same thing, was like there were 3 or 4 meetings missed, and they email them, ask them, and then they just vote to get voted for out. It's the same thing. Because this is, you're not in it, you're not helping out, you're not helping out with the committee, and you want to just step down. And if you haven't heard from them, it's just factor to get voting about them.
So again, it's currently in there, so it'll stay in there unless there's a motion from somebody to take it out or change it.
I move to remove sections 3.4 to 3.8 and instead have a reference and ideally a link. Sorry, Beth. I move to remove section 3.4 to 3.8 and instead make reference to which document?
This one specifically is the committee's bylaw.
I won't be voting for that just for the sake of, I don't want to have to go to multiple places. If we're bound by this, we're bound by it, so I don't feel the need to go to somewhere else to look, have it all in one location.
So I'd speak to that. That's only 2, 3, 4, 5 clauses from the committee's bylaw. It's a full bylaw. So you should familiarize with yourself with that thing. And there's other bylaws and policies too that the committee members never beholden to. No, I'm just speaking to your comment about either having it all in there or not having it in there. If you're gonna have it all in there, then yeah, like it all has to be in there. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm agreeing in a creative way.
Do you want me to like be more specific about having links embedded in the document?
It won't change my vote.
Okay. I won't.
I would have a question then for you, Heather, probably. Does it make more sense to have the links to the associated bylaws and policies as part of the terms of reference or as part of the bylaw, or both?
I could pop it into both. They will form one full document when it's put together. So I can have on the bylaw them just turn to links so that we can click them, or I can create a whole other section and put it right in the terms of reference, but then it's just a duplication. Doesn't matter to me.
I don't know if that makes sense to you guys. Like the terms of reference forms part of the Beaver Boardwalk Oversight Committee bylaw. So there's the bylaw body and then the terms of reference. And so all that stuff's in the bylaw body currently. So if it's in the bylaw body, are we content with that? Or do we want it in the terms of reference as well? Or maybe one or the other? Because to me, I fully agree. I don't see the point of having the 5 clauses in there when the bylaw itself references the entire document along with the other relevant ones. Well, the only thing I'm questioning, sorry, I'll come to you. The only thing I'm questioning is just the part in your motion about referring to the committee's bylaw, because the bylaw itself refers to it already.
Referencing.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's only referencing part of the relevant documentation. Beth?
Maybe that was like rather like if there's an overview somewhere where there's links to all the bylaws that are relevant to in terms of reference. Okay, but here some of them might be quite long, so to me, the reference to a specific section, and if there was a link that went right there, or at least the reference to the specific section, so then when we go to search the whole big bylaw, we could go right to those sections instead of having to kind of search through the whole thing. So is that what you intended?
Alice?
Yeah, that's what I was envisioning. I think Heather, was that your intent as well?
It's not possible to link direct to a page because our
No,
oh
but at least have the like refer to document blah section blah like in here.
well, but like Albert's saying, I can eliminate all of this, right?
Yeah.
And really any other place that's a duplication of something that's in another bylaw, right? If at the top of the bylaw it says you're beholden to these 3 policies, link, link, link.
Okay, I think the trouble is, you know, we have our terms of reference and you're gonna be scouring through it again. Oh, what are the rules for this again? And then like, you gotta look through 4 different documents, you can't remember where they are. So I do understand that that's, you know, like, obviously we're responsible for being familiar with our documents, but realistically, how often does someone on a volunteer committee open them up? Mm-hmm. All that, right? So.
Bill,
I don't understand the restriction placed on volunteer board members by bylaws and whatever you call it, codes of conduct for that. I just don't get it. I'm just a volunteer helping try to help my community build a boardwalk and fix what the council destroyed in the first place. So I'm trying to figure out.
Bill, that is inappropriate.
It's not appropriate.
It is
It's
inappropriate.
exactly appropriate.
No, it's not. It's an inappropriate and disrespect.
No, it's not. Why is it disappropriate? Why is it?
Because that's a judgment and that's an opinion on, that's your opinion.
Everybody in town says it. The entire town says it.
I don't know.
agree with
If we want to have a discussion about the history of the boardwalk, we certainly can, but that's not an appropriate comment to make it a public meeting.
That's the way it is, a public meeting.
Again, it's your opinion.
You address this at a public meeting. You don't like it, so you're gonna work with your boss and tell him to call me. I haven't heard from him yet. You don't like it.
I don't know what you're referring to.
I'm waiting for a call from Michael.
Anyway, it's not relevant to this.
It's relevant. You want a puppet, it's not people that agree with that disagree with you.
Okay. We're gonna move on. That's it.
I guess I just interpreted Alice's motion as that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units here, 6, replace it with 1 and just make reference to the sections. Yeah, there's 6 sections here, replace it with 1 and you know, 1 sentence referring to the committee's bylaw and those sections, so that we would know when you go up to the terms of reference. Sure, you can click on the committee bylaw, but you'd have the whole bylaw to go through. But if we knew where to go, then okay, that's quick.
Well, and I think that's the point, is that the whole bylaw, the whole committee's bylaw, the whole procedure bylaw, it's all applicable to this committee.
Right.
So to put certain
there.
Yeah.
But you're talking specifically about composition of this section, and it's like it does get kind of cut apart in the different bylaws. So to have something, you know, threading across documents is useful.
Yeah, and it's challenging because it's like every committee has even a different number of like headings, right? So it's not even like all section 3 across the board is, you know, membership stuff. It's not, it hasn't been built that way.
Well, at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter too much how it's structured. Like it's the rules are the rules, no matter which way they're cut, right? So I don't know if it matters that much.
Yeah.
Did we call a question for Alice's?
No, okay. No, we're still discussing. Okay. Could you read it back, Beth? Alice made it.
Alice moves to remove section 3.4 to 3.8, 3.8 or 3.9, and instead make reference to the committee bylaw.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, call the question. All those in favor? And opposed? Okay, that was carried. Was 5-2. And opposed was Tom and John.
And you want.
Oh, and John, sorry. Oh, sorry, so it was 4-3. 5-3. So. Okay.
All right. Boardwalk, do you guys want to keep a definition, or we don't feel that it's necessary now that we've added that section above?
It's pretty self-evident.
Remove it. Is it removed in the draft?
Heather just left me a note saying that they may want to tie this to the scope above, and then we should just make sure that you guys want to remove it from definitions. Because it's already above now.
It's currently removed, so we want to keep it removed. If not, or so, that's fine. Okay.
And then I had a motion from a few meetings ago where you guys wanted to see more of the Hill neighborhood encompassed within the scope of who could apply for the committee. So this is the who can apply for the committee. Previously, I mean, I could pull up old copy. I don't know if that's helpful if you guys don't remember. But specifically the motion had including College neighborhood, which is why I have now done it this way. However, again, if you want to reevaluate where this Maxwell Lake residents would be considered having lived, let me know and I'll change it. But this is an expanded version, so this would include more individuals to be able to sit around the table.
Is there any questions?
Oh, just if they want to change it. More questions.
All college, all around college, and then in between college,
Everything that's red.
Sutherland.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, geez. I asked you one question.
Okay.
Really, like, does it need to be all those separate little red blobs, or would you just one big red blob?
Excellent question. I just wasn't sure if you guys were going to want it drawn. I could do one giant big red blob, but then the school gets covered and they can't be part of the committee. So
Well, no one lives in school, I presume.
that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, I can do one. Yeah, that's easy enough.
I don't know, just
Just working really hard on this.
It's really nice.
Thank you.
It's not a motion on.
So we've got our categories of people, education, recreation, whatever. This is for the positions that are not those.
These are specific Maxwell Lake area residents. This is what
I'm just gonna say it, so I put it on the record.
Sure.
Part of me feels a little bit icky about only these people can do it instead of Hintonites that live in some other part.
we have that as well.
Oh, you do?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then I don't need to make anything for the record.
yeah. I think part of it is because I think I brought this forward, and the reason why is this. Theoretically, the previous way, I'm not allowed to be here in the technical
Yep.
role.
Well, I remember that, but I just didn't know that there was some other feature that captured the.
Mhm, we have
There's two members at large.
correct. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. Yep, thanks.
All good.
Yep.
Actually, so this is a new map versus what was there before. So with my highlighting of it. So just a motion to accept this new map, if possible, please.
I move to accept Heather's beautiful map.
I would like the minutes to reflect that.
Okay, all those in favor? It's carried unanimously.
But I will call it appendix B too.
Yeah. And that was it. That's all that's left for our terms of reference. Thank you for that item.
That was unanimous.
That's all you had for the terms of reference?
Correct.
Okay, so over to committee then, before we move on, is there anything else that committee wants to discuss regarding the terms of reference? Okay, if there is nothing else, then this is the version of the recommendations that will go in council for council's consideration. What is it?
January 24th. When I get them cleaned up, I can circulate that around by email as well. Just if you guys want to take a look, you can.
Okay. We're all good then. We can move on. Okay. That brings us to 4.0 information items. 4.1 updated council code of conduct. So Heather has provided a link in the agenda. December, I think it's 21st, 20th. Regular meeting of council before Christmas. There was an amended version of the code of conduct presented to council. Council approved it, passed it. It's pretty minor changes, but because it is a document that the committee is beholden to, it would be a good idea to go and take a look at it, review it. Else?
Are there any things in your mind that stick out as having changed enough to mention them?
The only really big significant change is if there's a formal code of conduct complaint. It's always going to be handled by an external investigator.
Okay.
It used to be optional. There was a couple different ways that it could have been handled, but in the new bylaw, it's always somebody third party, impartial, external to the organization.
Okay. Thank you.
And there's a bunch of minor changes in it too, but nothing huge. Any comments or questions about that? Okay, brings us to 5.0 round table.
We did.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, yeah, sorry. 4.2 and 4.3. 4.2 committee inquiries. I write my handwritten notes on the side and then I ignore them. 4.2 committee inquiries.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you guys for participating in and accepting Heather in here. I understand that she sent an email. I guess she had a conversation with some directors, giving some direction on how to process your committee inquiry. So I just want to make sure we're crystal clear and we all understand. So if you have a question after this meeting, right, about Beaver Boardwalk stuff, not ramps, not bridge, not a park. Yes, I do that too. You can send me a private email about that one. If it's about the business that we conduct here, send that one direct to me. If it's about, let's say ramps or anything else, really, the official method that the town of Hinton uses for those types of inquiries is through either the Hinton Listens button or info@hinton.ca, which goes straight to the comms department, and it's their job to go and hunt down those answers and get follow-up. It was just really bogging me down with all the other things that I have to do. So I went to CAO and just asked that we realign that. Because again, that's not my project and it's kind of awkward for me to chase that step down. Are there any questions on that point? No.
Yeah, I was having a lot of trouble figuring out how to ask questions and who to ask them to, and like I'm not trying to bog anyone down. It's just like there's stuff that's relevant. So is the idea like if I have a question that I think is relevant to our committee that you may not, like you just listed, it's not under those things that you can answer. So I go to Hinton Listens, I go to info.ca, and then once I've obtained the answer, I share it with the group. Is that sort of the process to be?
If you believe that there's nothing that says you guys can't converse with each other by email, right? Yeah. So if you believe that inquiry is like, hey, I found this out, do you guys want to know? you can share that in an email, people will read it. However, if you want that added to an agenda or something, I'm going to touch on that next. So it's gathering the information. You can share whatever information you like with the group. It's just how to action that after that we'll touch on next.
Okay.
Does that answer the question? So let's say you go to Hinton Listens, find some stuff out about, I don't know, a ramp, and you want to share that with Kevin, just DC the whole group. You guys are allowed to talk about that kind of stuff.
Beth and then Kevin.
Yeah, so like we had a presentation by Winston and Debbie last time to our group on the scoop piles actually, and after I thought, oh, there's a couple questions that I wanted that came into my mind that if I thought of, I would have asked them at the meeting. And so for me, because it was part of our meeting, so do I just as a person, you know, blindly write Hinton Listens or contact Winston as a, not as a BBOC member after that, but as a citizen of Hinton? Like it gets kind of like, and then if I want that on the agenda and told, oh no, well that's, you know, go fight somebody or whatever. So it gets fuzzy to me, like, to me, that was part of our committee and I had some follow-up questions and now I'm being told that it's not part of our committee. So how do we deal with that?
Thanks, Beth. So I think the challenge is that like, I'm not an engineer. Mr. Russo is an engineer, right? So he comes to these meetings and speaking on, pilings, right? If I had had that question in advance of even that meeting, I would have brought my engineer, right? I would have asked Jen P to come and speak to that, right? But now that's in the realm of Winston. So sure, if you had a question about pilings, I would say that that falls within, as I would scoop that out of that email, right? And, you know, go and find some information on that because we use pilings. So if you guys have questions about that, that's reasonable to me. If you're now asking questions specifically about ramp pilings, I cannot speak to that.
Yeah. Because I guess it must be just lost, and because I did have questions about pilings in general, like about their, like I forgot what I forgot was, oh wait, but we already have it, you know, Winston made a case of the treated pilings as being better, and then but we already put in untreated. So my questions were to do with that. Now to me that seems like something the committee would want to know, what, you know, the life of untreated versus treated, and I had a few questions like that. So sure. But I was so told like, no, that's to me that is directly related to here. So
sure. So with respect to that, oh sorry, was there somebody else with you?
Well, there is, but you know, you can answer that question.
So with respect to the coding of pilings, I can absolutely bring back, it was a lifespan, that was the question.
Yeah,
what's the difference?
Yeah.
Sure, but I would need to get that from like our engineer, so I can do that. Oh, yeah. That's no problem. Now, in terms of how to like talk about that at the committee, Beth. So what we would do is at the end of this meeting, let's say, we're gonna do roundtable. That'll be the moment that we can add things to next agenda. If in the meantime, you guys have questions about things that pop up, email them to me. And I will do my best to answer all of those before we even come in to the next meeting in an email. So that it's not a carryover item into our next meeting, because that's causing some issues making the agenda.
Yeah, so I should scoop that out of the email I've already done and then email it to you.
So who did that email go to? I don't think it matters. I will just write it down.
Well, let me find it. Or I could send it to you.
Yeah, that's fine too, then.
Yeah. So let me right here.
Second.
Less organized.
Anyway, I could dig it out of the email, just forward. Oh yeah, here we are. I guess I sent it to everybody, but you were away, so yeah. And this as a follow-up to presentation of scoop piles at the last meeting, can we ask for additional information? Can there be additional section on the expected lifespan of untreated piles that were used to upgrade the 2 areas last winter? Will they corrode? what is the current technology for removal? Like that's down the road, but can you even get them out? Like, I don't know, can you even get them out once you put them in?
The date of that, Beth?
So that was December 31.
Or in 75 years, parts will come out. And there's a deterioration rate of 47 something parts per million of metal up once the coating comes off. I read it somewhere, and I used to do it up in Peace River in the Fairview area, and we used to put in screw piles and they know all the stuff. And it's just we'll know, we'll all be dead before they deteriorate. But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, no, it's like, what are we leaving for the future generation?
Exactly, it's what we're doing for the future, and that's exactly what I found something somewhere, and now I can't find it. It seems like suddenly when you look for it, everything is rosy and clean, and everything's good for the environment. And screw piles are the best way to go. Now that's what it says now. But when I found it, I should have saved it. That's my fault.
Oh yeah, I jotted it down. I'll dig it out. Yeah.
Okay, Kevin and then Alice.
Sure, yeah, my question is kind of related to this, but it's just. So when I first started on the committee, I sent an email when I was really, well, I'm still excited. A little enthusiastic, just, hey, I've got a bunch of photos of the Beaver Boardwalk and I offered them to one of the communication staff in the town. And when I sent that email, I thought, hey, I'm just being a really good volunteer and whatnot. And I never got a response back. And so part of me was going, okay, either you guys are incredibly busy, which I know you are, or maybe that casual type of kind of friendly email was just part of my nature, the way I do things, that it maybe is outside of the purview of my role as a committee member and somehow. So I just wanted to back up and just use that example. Like if as committee members, like in regular conversation in daily life, we come across things like opportunities. Hey, there's a great grant and I want to throw you an email to that. I mean, would I have to do that through the entire committee, or your expertise as the town manager? Do you see it as realistic? And then I might bring it back to the committee. You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm not hiding anything, right? It's just regular, conversation. So in those casual circumstances, were those appropriate, or should there? I mean, should I be being more formal? Is much better?
Great question. Excellent example. So for that one, share it with the committee, because Alice may have an idea about how we can make that grant applicable that maybe I didn't think of, right? And at the end of the day, if you had sent it to me just as Parks and Rec Manager Heather, right, I'm probably going to look at that and see if I can apply it to any of my other projects, and then I would probably bring it here anyway, right? So for something like that, I think that's information sharing and is similar to what we discussed before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And like with the photos example, like,
yeah, so
like when you
sent those where?
Well, I just, as an example, I mean, my personal background, I do a lot of photography and I had a whole bunch of pictures of the boardwalk, and I thought some might be useful if you're wanting to promote it. Hey, I'm a volunteer, you can have them. And I just sent an email off, and I just thought maybe a lack of response was because maybe it was kind of unusual and weird. I don't know.
Well, and obviously it is a little bit, like typically community members don't reach out with that kind of a gift. But yeah, but if you want to share them with the group, I can take them off to comms, because I know they would love to put them on the website if you're willing to part with them.
I know they're incredibly busy, but like I said, I just wanted to make sure that kind of a thing, like, to me, it's consistent with being a volunteer on the board and this group, and something I personally feel like I'm bring a little bit. But yeah, so I just want to. So I hope that was an appropriate time to bring that up. Anyway, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin, Alice.
I guess what got confusing in December was like the questions that Beth had about the screw piles. Like that was like directly to Winston. Like, would it have been more appropriate for Beth just to email Winston directly, and then once she got the answers, email it to the group? Like, is that the better way to do it, or is it like once someone from another part of admin comes in and then they leave, like we don't have that open anymore, that avenue of communication? Like, I'm not just confused.
I honestly think your best and most consistent way to reach out to any other member of admin on anything in the world, like anything to do with municipal business, is through Hinton listens, because everything on there, or info at Hinton, because it's all tracked. So as soon as you put it in, if they don't get back to you, it's all tracked. And it's literally their job to make sure that those responses get cranked out.
So it's almost like a ticket.
It absolutely is a ticket. That's how it works. Yeah.
Okay.
But if it is. Beaver Boardwalk committee business, then it goes to you.
Correct. Yeah.
Even if you might not have the answer, you
Correct. Like the pilot.
distribute
Yeah.
and collect information.
Yep.
If it's something outside of the oversight of this committee, though, then it's probably best to do like Heather said and do it through Hinton listens. Alice.
Okay, so I had brought up the there was like a little blurb on the website about the Maxwell Lake Pedestrian Bridge project, and I sent an email because there were some errors in it, and I was wondering what the process was for, you know, getting it looked at, and so that's the kind of thing that I should create. I go to Hinton listens for. And bypass the group entirely and just go as a public person. Is that
because that's bridge related? That's the Maxwell Lake Bridge ramp project. Is that what it's titled?
Okay, so it is, yes. So the Maxwell Lake Bridge project, it's in our scope, but it's not in your department. So that's why we go to Hinton listens. Okay. Okay. Jeez. Clear as mud. Gotcha.
And I honestly think it'll be much clearer once the ramps are complete. Because then it's just everything, right, in that red circle, or not circle.
How come it's not in our scope until they're complete? Like, is the
project
it's infrastructure services that's doing the bridge. It's not parks. It's a different department. So that's why it's the challenge between this group and the bridge ramps. It's infrastructure services until it's complete, and then parks takes it away.
Correct. Yes.
So is the BBOC committee under the Parks Department? Like
it's under council, but because it falls under my purview, that's why it's under Parks. And whenever something is built, then it gets turned over to us. The boardwalk, as this project, will be the first one in all the years that I've been here that is managed this way, where infrastructure is not coming in and doing the whole boardwalk.
So because it's Heather's our designated administrative representative, which and she's in the Parks Department, and Parks looks after Maxwell Lake and the boardwalk. When there is things that are outside Heather's department, she has to bring in people from wherever it is, infrastructure services, for example. If it's Winston that needs to come, it may be planning and development at some point in the future. There was some questions that may be coming up about development in that area. So that would entail bringing in somebody from a different department again to present to the committee, and maybe for the committee to ask questions of.
What I'm gonna do, go first, Alice.
Okay, Allison and Beth.
So the other thing is like forthcoming documentation with relation to our scope. Like last meeting, I was under the impression that they're having to renew their application. So is that a new piece of documentation now that is going to Alberta Environment? Like,
as I understand from an email I saw today, there is no new requirement with AEP.
Then why the open house?
Excellent question. I didn't know that was happening and saw that email.
So again, it's infrastructure services project. It's their open house, not Heather's.
And then I did, and that was to Beth's point when she sent an email being like, what is this? I also was like, what is this? So that's why I had comms do a correction to make it clear that this isn't you guys. It's not Boardwalk. Because we got a lot of it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure, like, we're gonna have an update, it's on the next agenda. So if the public wanted to have a input into the infrastructure, you have to talk directly to infrastructure. Like this little open house isn't really public input, it seems like it's just look and see, here's what we're doing. So how would the public then interact with infrastructure for meaningful input?
So as I understand at this point, the input phase has passed. It was like, how old is this project, right? However, if you want to speak with a member of administration, you can reach out either to them directly and ask for a meeting, or you can reach out to Hinton Listens and ask them to get in contact with you to set up a meeting. And they may choose to have that conversation with you, but with respect to the formal process, again, not my project, but the last update I had was that there isn't one.
Okay, so there's a bit of a loophole here. So the maintenance plan was put in, and there was a statement of concern process through the province, which there were a few statements of concern submitted by Beth and myself that went through the process, the provincial process. And then when the ramps came along, you guys put in a new application, and then Alberta Environment and Parks at the time, or the government, provincial government said, you already have an application open here, so you don't need to do this new application, you can just file an amendment. At which, so there was then no statement of concern process again on the bridge, which is one of the main issues with what happened the first time. Like, it went through code of practice, and so there was it didn't trigger the whole 7-day public feedback period. So again, we've gone through, there's another little loophole where the ramps have gone through Alberta Environment and Parks approval without the typical public feedback process for the water crossing.
And so I think this is a perfect example of where I just simply don't have the answers because it's not my project. So I would encourage you, Alice, if that's the loophole that you see, and I haven't been close enough to that project to know the timeline like I do for the boardwalk. So it's either your avenues, I suppose, if you have questions about the 7-day period, I would take those to AP. If you have questions around the open house, connect with comms and they'll get you in touch with Winston.
You mentioned something about it taking a long time for the boardwalk, for this bridge to get done. How come it's not finished yet? Like,
again, I can't speak to that because it's not my project.
I mean, you know, in my personal course, I mean, you know, we're used to having assets people and people that don't talk to the other park departments all the time, and it's really demanding. But one of the things I was like, do they have a committee like our committee, and don't we have some liaison relationships from time to time, one committee to another committee? So interdepartmental communications or liaison, like, you know, I'm just in similar situations in other government that I work with. I mean, those kinds of structures tend to occur and disappear depending on the relationship and the impacts of the project on other
absolutely
roles of government or departments and functions and people. And yeah, I mean, I just, you know, I mean, and just the other side too, I just want to throw up is I mean, when you put an open house in, you know, an open house begets public input and engagement. So information sharing is cool, but you know, if the intent of that is going to be to gather public input, then maybe it should just be a public report or something. It's a lot of money and time spent. So organizing an event that people probably think they'll have an input, and in reality, that's ship a sail.
Absolutely. I agree with you. However, again, like I wasn't even here when that rolled out. And I'm not in comms anymore. So to put that strategic lens on and say, I wouldn't call that an engagement session or, you know, info session, whatever it is they called it. But yeah, so to get more information on that, I would say either go to the open house, have that conversation there in person, or connect through the channels we already discussed this evening. I just don't have the information. And to Kevin's point, it's I did send some emails and I did go to some conferences.
Yeah. Thanks.
So as an oversight committee, is there a mechanism within administration when other departments are going to be doing work that affects our scope that we are advised of and get those documentations before all the decisions have already been made?
Can I speak to it? The bridge and the ramps should be the last time that any project ever happens within that Maxwell Lake oversight area that we talked about earlier this evening that doesn't come through this committee first. And the only reason it's not, it's a carryover from 2017-16 is when that project was initiated. So theoretically, because this group exists now and that's in the oversight area, it should never happen again. Everything should be vetted through this group, recommendations sought, which even was an exercise that was took for the bridge ramps. That's when Diana came here and presented to you guys and talked about options and asked for input, and this group did give recommendations.
Okay, so that was for inquiries. I'm going to help you guys out for the first little while. So if you send something in a group email, I'll be like, hey, this piece and this piece, yes, I'll take that. This one, go connect with Hinton Listens, just so to help kind of so that everyone can kind of get their bearings on what belongs where. With respect to how we're going to add things to the agenda. Did you want to speak to that, Albert, or do you want me to go on my notes?
No, go ahead.
So like I had mentioned, at the end of every meeting, we do a roundtable. Please try and think about what's upcoming in the next month if you want an item added. We really would like to have an idea of that being added when I leave this room so that I can start finding the information that I need rather than showing up here and not being able to answer your questions, right? So, however, if you get home and you're like, oh, I forgot this at roundtable, you can email all of the committee. Councillor Ostashik as the chair will then issue a vote electronically through email. And if it carries, then it ends up on the agenda. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. And those are for emergent items only. Yeah.
Emergent items.
And just check additions after meetings, email by vote. Yeah, and then just remembering to CC the whole committee when you are sending something. And that's it on inquiries.
So the additions to the agenda, I just want to make sure to make sense to everybody. Anybody have questions? For the benefit of anybody who might be watching and not familiar, didn't see the email that was sent out about why that's probably best practice. It gives administration time if they have to bring in somebody from a different department, because it is something that falls in the wheelhouse of a different department and Heather's not able to speak to it. It gives Heather the opportunity to be able to arrange that, get a subject matter expert in who can do a presentation and probably better answer committee's questions than Heather would be able to. And I guess that's the main reason to try and give some heads up on upcoming agenda items, is so we can get the best information for committee to be able to just discuss a situation or an agenda item. Okay. Comments or questions? Okay. Anything else on
not on inquiries, no.
I have a question, I guess. Would it be possible to package that up in a bullet point email and send it out to the committee so they have it for reference and for the people who weren't able to join tonight? Okay. If there's nothing else for committee inquiries, we'll move on to 4.3 open house update. Beth, did you want to take that?
Oh, okay. When Winston and Debbie were here, they mentioned a forum and like at that time, and maybe Heather can update us what's changed since that last meeting. They said they would have to submit an application to Alberta Environment for the ramps. And there's a public input expectation in the application, and they were hoping this town hall upcoming would fit that, even though they would have to put the application in before the town hall. And then just before Christmas, like on the website, the town website, they talk about an open house. And I've been information I've got from town people are saying, no, this is not intended for like a public input session. And that sounds very, very clearly opposite to what we have been told in the meeting. And so some changes have happened, which I'm totally unfamiliar with, and don't know if you can update us with that, Heather. But I was a little bit shocked, actually. Yeah. It seems like the open house is something quite different than what we were told in the meeting with Winston and Debbie, in terms of its purpose and what, yeah, so if you can update us on that.
The only clarity I can provide, I'm not sure if we had a chance to see this email, Beth, but Deb actually tracked down and was able to give this response to the email that you had sent. Personally, I trust by now the town's follow-up communication about the open house have answered your questions, but if not, please let me know. So I guess Deb maybe has some more information through her conversations with Winston. Because she's opened the door like that for you, feel free to connect with her on that. And then it says to confirm, the open house is to refresh the public on the specified project and answer questions, and is not, to answer your second question, formal public engagement, nor an input opportunity required by any regulatory process. All that was completed some time ago for this project. That's all I know.
Alice?
So my notes from last meeting, Debbie had said they needed to reapply for the permit due to the time lag, and that this would trigger the 7-day notification to public. So, and she also said it would be a town hall. So, and now it's an open house. So there's just,
Yeah. I think that's ultimately with respect to town hall. I did have a conversation with comms about that. I think that's just a misunderstanding in language where people don't really know what a town hall was when they use that terminology, which is why comms cleaned that up. Thank you, Kevin.
Don't call it a town hall.
Don't ever
No,
call it.
I'm not sorry.
So how do
Yes.
So how do I find out what happened here? Because I've gotten two different stories, pretty big different stories.
So I think further, like going back to our example, because I haven't applied for that, I have not engaged on that project, I think your best bet is to go through comms, through Hinton Listens or the info with exactly this, right? And ask your question, which is it, 7 days or not 7 days?
I might get my Debbie's mixed up. Is Debbie the one answering this email that gave, is she the same person that gave the?
No, so
No.
Deborah
Yeah,
is my director of community services.
right. And she,
Yeah, and she's the one that responded, and Debbie is the manager that works for Winston,
with Winston.
that presented to you guys. Yeah.
Alice?
yeah, so the why, like, yeah, what exactly is triggering this open house? I was looking forward to a town hall finally on the bridge, because there's so much she said, and to actually have an open forum where everyone who's interested in the project is there and you can hear what everybody else has to say, instead of just an open house where people are trickling in and out. I was really kind of looking forward to finally having that level of engagement about this bridge project that's been just, you know, you're too late for 5 years, you're too late, and anyways, so I'm just very confused what is triggering this open house.
So in the email, the trigger was to refresh the public on the specified project and answer questions.
Okay, the other thing in that email that was confusing was she said, I trust recent communications about the open house or something along those lines. Have clarified.
Sorry, there was another part of Beth's email.
Yeah, you read that out.
Yeah, that she's just referring to there, and that was that I reached out to comms and cleared up the fact that it wasn't about, because there was a section of that first comms that went out that said it was about our Bebo project.
So she's just referring to the Facebook post?
No, there's and then she
like,
gave her, there's a link as well that was provided.
Yeah.
Did I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's just before that, she sent me another one with a link, open house, and it says the public engagement, which I just counted it off just before I came. This public engagement initiative pertains only to the gravel trail sections of the Beaver Boardwalk Trail network that are joined north and south of the existing Knoxville Lake Bridge, is highlighted in yellow on the map. And then lower down it says for all other Beaver Boardwalk rehab, an additional open house will be scheduled in the coming months. So this open house is only about the gravel trail. It's not even about the ramps.
No, it's about the gravel ramps that are going to go on top of where the gravel trails are right now.
There's
Not the gravel ramps, the wood ramps
sorry,
that are going to go. The wooden ramps that have been presented a couple of times here that we're all familiar with, that are going to cover the gravel paths to the north and south connections. That's what this open house is. What the other one she's referring to, the other one is your wheelhouse. That's the Beaver Boardwalk replacement project. That's the other open house she's talking about. That one is parks, right?
Yep, that one will be us.
This one is development services.
And the first comms that went out didn't clearly make that delineation. So for you guys, I just want to be very clear.
There's two open houses?
No. There's one open house for the bridge ramps. Down the road, as part of our project, with getting the rest of the boardwalk fixed up, AEP is going to require that we do public consultation. So when we come there, that's what we'll work on.
But they're not requiring public for the bridge ramps.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Heather doesn't have this information. This is a development services project.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. Like, I wish we had better answers for you. But because Heather doesn't work in that department, she doesn't know.
Yeah. Sorry, Heather, I didn't mean to keep harassing you. Like,
Okay.
just
John?
No, I think you just took care of them.
I'll have to.
That's all you had? Okay. Did anybody else have anything that they wanted to add, thoughts or discussions regarding the open house?
Yeah, I've got to try this. So I was one of the people who voted against the motion that we wouldn't consider removal and replacement. So I'd like to bring that back as a new motion and make a motion that the committee recommends that council direct administration to develop costing for removal of the iron bridge at Maxwell and replacement with a simple footbridge or boardwalk as a contingency in case of complications with the ramps.
oh my God. Sorry. Forgetting my job here.
It's the top one.
If we have a standing motion that says we're not talking about, and that I don't remember how it works.
We'd have to look that motion up. I can't remember what the wording of it was exactly.
Just a comment on that motion that was framed as a negative motion, and I think it really should have been for the other way around. So I don't even know if that motion, we've all been trying to respect it, but I don't think the motion would hold up. Like it wasn't worded the way most motions should be. Like it wouldn't hold up under parliament or anything. So even though it was yeah, so you'd want to look at the wording
Does anybody have a memory of what month that was?
It was sometime in the summer, I think it was in July.
For June, okay.
And I think I have it written down.
So Beth, I appreciate what you were saying about the wording of the motion. Someone would have to formally dispute the validity of the motion, and then it would probably have to go to legislative services, and likely to legal, to be honest.
That's right, and likely to.
Legal.
Oh.
Alice?
Outside of that, is there not, are people who voted against motions allowed to bring them back up? I thought that was like, I thought that you're allowed once, like, either you can bring it up after a year has passed, or someone who votes against the motion can bring it back up. I'm pretty sure that's.
I'd have to look it up in the procedure bylaw, but I think it's somebody who voted on the prevailing side has to be the one who brings it back to the table. So if it passed, one of the people who voted for it to pass has to be the one who brings it back.
Do you want me to check anything on that or procedure bylaw?
That's beyond me, to be honest. I don't know if that's a legitimate motion.
We could table it. I could take it as an inquiry, and I could go talk to Gordon about it. Do that. Sorry, I was mumbling over here.
No, it's
we
okay.
could make a motion to make that an admin inquiry, and I can return a response by email so that I can just quickly go and get that figured out, because I'd have to explore the procedure bylaw and chat with Jordan.
What if I don't want to table it?
That's up to committee.
Okay,
Yeah.
so would that be a vote then to table it? Okay.
Somebody has to move to table it and
I
then
see.
committee votes on it. Yep.
So is the committee allowed to vote on it as it stands?
That's what we don't know.
So the only option is to table it. Otherwise, we just sit here forever.
I'm not a legislative services person. I'm fairly
Yeah.
familiar with it, but I can't speak to that for sure. I suppose we could vote on it, and if it winds up that it wasn't a legitimate motion, then it just becomes no. I'm guessing.
Okay. So we vote on the one I just made, and if the other one is null, then this one stands, and if it wasn't null, then this one's null.
Well, the other one is no for sure. The other one was a motion,
Okay.
and it was
I see.
passed by committee. So yeah,
I think the easiest way forward is to pass a motion or put a motion on the table right now, directing me to go look into it as to what would happen, right? How that would work if you can even put this motion on the table about the bridge. That's probably the fastest way.
Okay.
Baby steps.
So I guess I'll do that. So I move to table the motion and have administration look into, is it the validity of the other motion? Is that what we're looking into? Or
We're looking in to determine whether you can place.
I can place
Yeah.
this motion on the table. Okay.
And direct.
To verify. If the motion can be put forward.
You know, the previous motion and direct administration to verify if this motion can be put forward. Read that a lot a bit better.
If I could make a request, if we could change direct to request. I don't think that this committee has authority to direct administration.
Okay, so Alice moves to table the previous motion and request administration to verify if this motion can be put forward.
Okay, so there's a motion to table. Committee, is there any comments or questions regarding the motion to table and the reason for tabling? Okay, seeing nothing, we'll call the question. All those in favor of tabling, please indicate. Okay, that's carried unanimously. So do that.
Yeah, I already sent an email.
Okay, or anything further regarding the open house? Okay, nothing. That moves us to 5.0 round table. Good start with you, Bill. What are we doing? Round table. You got anything?
I just want to make sure my boardwalk is taken care of. It's our boardwalk, but it's also mine. It's made my life a way better place to be. And it needs to be repaired. It's been brought back to its previous luster that it, well, what it once had. Till I got here and I saw what it was turned into. It needs to be repaired. It needs to be fixed up. That's why I'm here about it. Okay. Yes.
Well, a couple things. One, there is a public hearing coming up about the West Area Structure Plan. It's to do with the international school that's being planned for near the highway, the edge of the golf course. But it did force me to look at the West Structure Plan, and it does have implications for our boardwalk down the road. Like, it's unlikely that the whole thing will be built out anytime soon. But basically, if this is finally built out and we're walking on the boardwalk, say from Sutherland toward the Beaver Pond, you'll look up and there'll be houses 20 meters on top of the bank there. That's how close this plan is going. And there is that funny little divot in the south of our area, our scope. That would be, I think, for a planned stormwater pond. So at some point, I think we should talk about this West Area Structure Plan. Not that it's imminent. The school is very, compact toward the highway, but the whole thing, if it's built out, it will have implications on the enjoyment of our boardwalk, the boardwalk experience. And it also virtually wipes out every long-toed salamander pond and forest habitat they depend on the golf course as well. And that's not visually flat, but it's almost like they planned it. So that's sometime appropriate. I think we could talk about that, at least for understanding and future potential. Now, it takes a big deal to change a structure plan. It's I've even looked into that. And if you were just doing it, it has to be reviewed every 10 years. So that's 2027 when this comes up. It could be changed at that time without going through the formal processes. So that actually maybe brings me to another one, which is maybe more relevant because of potential imminent effects of adjacent developments on our boardwalk experience. I've thought it would be a good idea to have our area, the boardwalk area, identified as a conservation area formally. And I don't know, I might want to bring that up as an agenda item just to get the discussion started. Is there, because that would help really solidify this is what this place is for. This is a conservation area. Should we have a formal designation for it? And I think that might be an agenda item that would cover off a lot of, bring in a lot of good discussion, and I think it'd be great. So I'll just leave it at that.
If you want to leave it at that, nothing's going to happen.
Well,
So if you want them to be added as agenda items, you have to move to add it to the agenda. The challenge with the committee this big is that everybody just, if everybody just requests to add agenda items, we're going to have agendas that are 20, 30 items long. So I think it's important that if there is an item that you want to get added, that it's supported by consensus of the committee. So there would be a motion made to add an agenda item, and then it would be put to the committee for decision. And then committee could say whether that's something they see value in pursuing it at a future meeting.
Okay, I'll make a motion to add a discussion of assigning conservation designation to the Beaver Boardwalk scope area of scope. So
whatever. I'll break down something that moves to add discussion on conservation designation for Maxwell Lake area as future agenda. Yeah.
Discussion of the conservation area.
I always wondered what is its designation, if some sort. It's actually a land or what?
Park, I think.
It's park, municipal park,
Yeah.
Part crown lease, ground lease.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Alice?
I'll be in support of this.
Okay. Does anyone else want to speak to it? No, you want to speak to it?
Yeah, that's all.
No. Okay. Anyone want to speak to it? Any comments or questions? Okay. Seeing none, call the question. Can you read it again? Sorry.
Okay. That move to add discussion on designation of a conservation. Well, actually, I just wrote add discussion on conservation area of Beaver Boardwalk to future agenda.
Just before I call the question, then, if it's a discussion item, and the understanding is it's just a discussion item amongst the group, or did you have a thought or an expectation that you maybe want somebody present? If we could get somebody to answer questions or do a presentation.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
That'd be ideal.
Sure, that would be Bill.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. You're talking about the golf course coming onto the boardwalk area with that new addition of that.
it doesn't,
Beth,
it nothing
you want to
changes.
clarify what you're talking about,
Please.
Okay, like there's two things. I may bring that up later. The West Area Structure Plan
Yeah.
doesn't impinge on our study area.
Okay, so that's fine. Okay.
The physical part of it. Sorry, so discussion items, so there's a
Yeah, so if
technicality.
it's just a discussion item, it's generally just a discussion item amongst committee.
Oh, okay,
So if you had a thought about somebody who you might want to come and do a presentation, answer questions, I'm not sure the town has a subject matter expert in that.
Upstairs.
I think we could get somebody from upstairs.
Might not be, they might have to zoom in, but I can find somebody.
Do you know anyone good?
Personally, on parks,
like.
well,
yeah.
it depends on what you want to talk about, because I mean, you know, I mean, I could come with a list of different type of parks. I mean, there's certainly municipalities that zone things as natural area parks, it's conservation lands, conservation easements, there's natural land trusts, like Edmonton has the best system of that going. I mean, your complexity is probably because it sounds to me that you have like two like land designations in one landscape, which can be negotiated and worked through, right? And probably for something of common interest, like something like that, political will would be there for sure. So I don't know, I can make a list of things, but I'm not a subject matter expert. I'm a geek and I look at this stuff.
I think we probably get to Heather. My suggestion would be to change it to maybe information item instead of discussion item.
Okay, good, because I don't know the technicalities of,
And then Heather captured the discussion that we would like to have somebody maybe that would be more familiar with that process to be at the meeting if possible.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I want to start it, the whole conversation. Okay, so add conservation area information item.
I'd be happy to look up 5 or 6 examples and just giving you this information.
So it'd be something like I move to add information item to a future agenda on the conservation on designation of Beaver Boardwalk conservation area, something like that.
I thought your original motion was pretty good, just to change discussion to information item instead.
So I move to add information item on conservation area of Beaver Boardwalk to future agenda.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
Okay, any other comments, questions regarding the motion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Okay. So shoot for February, March. There's nothing really imminently pressing about getting that on right away, so as you can line up somebody. Okay, Beth, did you want to action your other one too, or do you want to?
Yeah, I might as well. I think I also want to add an information item on the West River West Area Structure Plan to a future agenda. Yeah, we should. Yeah, I think we should talk about it and just be aware of future implications. So to me, it's like an education thing for us because I'm still learning. I was pretty shocked when I saw that. I didn't realize that was so close.
Yep. Hey, else?
Yeah, and I'm not sure how it works for you, Heather, but I don't think it's like pressing, like anytime in the next year would probably be sufficient.
Okay. Tom?
I think the items are good tied together. Understanding the West Area Structure Plan's implications as far as timeline, proximity, and then having some idea of what designations can be given to the area to protect it. I guess it's kind of a package, but I understand them being separate. But
yeah, they would definitely be related, but they're likely going to be separate information items though. One would probably be with some people from planning and development, and then the other one would be somebody from the province. I believe the province does designated areas, correct? Yeah. Okay, any other comments or questions? The one thing that I would like to see if we get somebody from planning and development would be for them to do a presentation and they could walk committee through the process of what happens between an area structure plan all the way through to build out. And I think that's important because I know there is a bunch of steps in there, and almost always the area structure plan is a conceptual plan, And what that looks like compared to what actually gets built are worlds apart generally. And then there's also all the regulatory approvals and everything that still has to happen, even though there is an area structure plan. So I think walking through that process would be good. Okay. All right. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Okay, if you could read it once more and we'll call the question.
Move to add information item West Area Structure Plan to future agenda.
Okay. All those in favor, please indicate. Okay, that was also carried unanimously. Okay, anything further, Beth?
Oh, that's good. That's lots.
Okay, yes, Jan?
Sorry, I don't want to waste people's time. What's the function of a roundtable?
Just to talk about anything that you've heard around the community about the Beaver Boardwalk, the Maxwell Lake area, and to bring forward anything that you might want to see come at a future meeting.
Okay, so I'll just throw one thing, and it's just for information, really. My dog, the way that the snow is, the way it works with the snow is that it rounds down into the slots, and my dog got caught, like her foot slipped down the slope of the snow into the crack, and it was not great. It was very awful. So it's just food for thought. Maybe the cracks need to be a little bit narrower, or maybe I don't know. I don't know how to fix that, but I can't believe
Between the boardwalk slots.
Yeah. And could not get it out, and my girlfriend almost lost her hearing in her one last year because the dog was howling so hard.
But sorry, what kind of dog? Just curious.
45-pound.
Oh, and mix.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I just thought I'd throw that out. Maybe we can mention that in future discussions of construction.
Was it in a well-kept area, like one of the
It was right
in the new stuff?
on the going across.
Oh, on the new stuff.
No,
No.
Not on the new stuff.
Okay.
A big use for that, the spread apart, it dries out. I have built decks where it says leave a space and I don't leave a space. But when it did leave a space within a year and a half, it's 3/4 inch apart, it's all dried out. That's what happens because everybody says, well, you're supposed to leave a space, and you're not supposed to do that. That's just my experience.
I'd like
Probably dried, sorry.
I'd like to ask, and I know I hear your point about agenda items, but I'd like to ask if we, at the next meeting, we can get an update on things like grants, what is happening with the bridge, ramps, what was it? Yeah, that I think those are the two. I'm like the freest stuff. I've kind of lost touch with what's happening with all that stuff.
Okay. Is that something that's coming forward already? Okay. So we don't need a motion for that. No.
Okay, yeah.
For grants, and then what was the second one that you just said? Grants and the bridge ramps. So you want Winston and them to come and present?
No, just if there's something happening, like maybe, I don't know, I can't remember when they're supposed to be going in and starting and all that kind of stuff.
I think the bid's open right now. I checked online today, and it's like the tender is. It's an open bid right now on the town website for the ramps.
Did you want to field that one then, or is that something that's better gone off to development services?
I'll see if it makes sense for them to come to our next meeting based on when their open houses or whatever. If it makes sense for them to come to our February or not to give an update.
I don't want it.
Sure.
You don't want it?
So I need some clarification. What exactly are you looking for a bridge ramp update? Like in terms of,
I guess I was expecting work already or soon. So just an update on how it's going, or an update on when they think it will start. But it's okay. Let's just drop it. I don't care. More important to me is the kind of grant stuff.
okay, in the meantime, if I could make a suggestion, that the tender is out right now. So if you go and look up the tender document, it should have timelines and milestones in the tender. So it should have a closing date and it should have a preliminary construction start date. something like that. So in the meantime, if you want to look at that, and Heather will look into it too.
Cool, nice.
Anything else?
No,
Okay.
sorry.
No problem, Kevin.
Yeah, I was trying to think about how to frame this, but I was just gonna throw out just an observation from the summer and maybe just an idea, but real fast, it's you know, again, like I said this a couple times, but after the summer, I was really struck by the number of times that I was approached by tourists every time I go out to answer questions to them about the Beaver Boardwalk, like literally every single time, and I'm not dressed in anything, I'm just look like this, and maybe I should be asked questions, I don't know. But what it kind of got me thinking about was, you know, there is no real, well, I mean, there's interpretive media and the panels, but there's no one actually out there doing that work. So I just wanted to throw that out as if it's, I don't know if it fits with a town strategic plan or a partner like the chamber, but wouldn't it be a nice summer job for somebody, and very grantable summer job, I think, to be out there as an ambassador, just sort of loosely interpreting once in a while, like 3 nights a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday or something, for tourists that happen to come by. Just something really simple. And
Heavy on weekends too.
yeah, absolutely weekends. Yeah, that's the main thing. But you know, like I mean, the evenings definitely when there's more activity and things to see going on. But yeah, just to put that out there, just because I feel like it's a spot that gets a lot of people and a whole bunch of, oh, I wonder what's going on. And I mostly ran into international visitors, and the market's going to be returning even more this coming summer. And yeah, it just seems like an opportunity to just increase visitor experience. And I don't know what the gain is other than just increasing visitor experience through that kind of concept. So yeah, and I just want to throw it out there. I don't know where that fits or where that lies. And, yeah, I mean, budget's already set for the coming year, and it's great. But if anyone wanted to vision that out a bit more, I mean, you know,
Yes.
lots of
Totally fits within the scope. So you guys will remember the recommendations from the Beaver committee includes things around programming. And I'd love that you're already thinking like, oh, that might be a really good partnership with the chamber. Because typically like the town in Hinton, we do a really good job of grassroots as opposed to having the municipality deliver all the programming, which is very different than a lot of municipalities. So I think there's definitely a time and place for that meeting and for that item on an agenda. And I think it's going to be, you know, when we are moving forward with construction on the boardwalk, then this group should start talking about programming and kind of next steps.
yeah.
Love it.
Because it's already awesome.
Okay.
Even with the issues going on, people still seem to walk right past it. Yeah. But anyway, okay. But yeah, that's from the show. Thanks.
Okay, anything else?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thanks, Kevin. That's else?
I unfortunately I'm announcing stepping down today. I'm not gonna be able to stay on the committee. I just got other commitments on the go. And it was a pleasure. I really enjoyed the work again with you guys. And I apologize for not being able to complete my term. But that's where I'm at.
Okay, that's understandable. Volunteer committees have members that have to be for personal commitments. So on behalf of council, I want to thank you for your participation too and your involvement with the committee. It's definitely appreciated. Is that effective?
Yeah, it's effective immediately.
So this is a last meeting kind of
I
thing.
think I saw in that. I think I have to write you a letter and then you'll send it to council. Is that how that works?
It's either,
All right,
it's either us or the chair. One of us.
I
is
know
getting
it's
Is it me? It's me.
I will send you an email
Yeah.
that you can send to council and then it's council. Appoint a new member.
Anything else? Alice, anything else?
No, I really like Kevin's idea. I don't know if there's any way of getting that done before the summer and actually having someone this year though. I guess I could dream. But yeah, and I'm also happy that conservation area is going to be looked at by the group.
Okay. Thanks, Alice. Joan?
Joan, you're muted.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot how to unmute here. Is that, can everybody hear me? I just want to make sure. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so I got a chance to come back to Hinton during the Christmas break. It was lovely to see, it was lovely to come back into town and see Hinton during the winter season. For example, I loved how town of Hinton has been having these skating rinks pop up from different parts of the town. Especially the Pretzel, that one was a beautiful addition. Also, I took the chance to walk the Beaver Boardwalk during that break too. It was wonderful to see the trees covered in snow, people using it, and as well as Maxwell Lake as another skating rink. So yeah, I just want to say that. And I should have said before, but back to Kevin, working with the Chamber of Commerce for the summer, because I did their tourist consultant program. There was times where me and my coworkers were were tasked to go to the Beaver Boardwalk and have brochures of what to do in Hinton and answer questions that tourists may have during our visits to the Beaver Boardwalk. But I really like that idea as a program in which it has to be done daily during Hinton's rise in tourist visitation. So as saying, and as well, it's been great working with you, Alice. You know, I loved being in the committee with you. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Tom?
Yeah, Alice, it's been good to have you on the committee. I'm sorry to see you go. I guess as far as the boardwalk goes, I don't get to spend enough time out there. I'm sure we all kind of feel that way. Looking forward to the open house. I'm sure we all have questions. Other than that, just looking forward to warmer weather, however far away that is. And other than that, things are good. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Tom. There's nothing else. Sorry, I guess you need to go. I have nothing to report. Heather, no. Okay. Brings us to item 6, next meeting date scheduled for Wednesday, February 8th, 2022 at the same time. Any comments or questions about that? Okay. And that brings us to the end. So we need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Alice. All those in favor? And we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.